Alright, hello, my name is Caesar, and I made this song in support of Von's Veganic gardening question time, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Peace.
You're about to hear some top class organic fucking allotment rap. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yo. I be bored under the money trees, kind of a rapper, but really only give a off about the flowers growing next to me. Lettuce to celery, lessons in letters when letting the veg grow. Sunstorms, hail blow, but still I'm here digging up potatoes in my big old brown coat. It's locked down, so all these harvests come in handy, and it's healthy to be grafting on some ground that's really asking for tomatoes. I might smoke a Marlboro while sprouting avocado. It really takes its time so slow. Yo, it really takes its time so slow. Practice my patience for spacing apart the plants in the plot. I'm breaking all these leaves which biodegrade into good soil. Hey yo, soil where I choose to toil. I don't support the wars for stolen oil, temper boils. I don't support having poison covering food and royals richer than everyone else, or CEOs who never loyal to no one but the door. Yeah, to no one but the door. So I'm sticking to my homegrown, from sticky icky to chili, zucchini and spinach. I never won't, no.
Yeah, man. It's all about this allotment business, you get me? What, like £60 for a whole year, man? And like, I bring home these fat stacks of you know, kale and perpetual spinach and all that. Do you know what I mean? What do you know about organic food? You don't know nothing about that, man. And it, yo, honestly, bro, just try it, fam. Allotments, you know what I mean?
In support of allotments, bro. The Allotment Act in whatever year it was a very important act in the UK history. Right up there with the Ramblers Act, alright?
Are we there? Are we there, everyone? Are we there at Veganic Gardeners Question Time? We are indeed. I'm your host, Giles Bryant. And now more than ever, it's vital that we engage with how our food is grown. So by growing your food veganically, that's vegan organic, you are part of the growing revolution, which not only can transform your garden plot, but can also change the way the world grows its food. So we say, don't panic, it is veganic. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome. I'm Giles Bryant from the World Healing Project, and it's wonderful to be with you today. And in these shows, we bring people together, we bring experts together from all over the world, and we do our best to be able to answer questions that come in from all over the world as well. So I want to give you a little update about one of the things that the Vegan Organic Network is doing, which is the Von World Map. Now, I don't know, Maestro, if we have a graphic for this at all, but it's free to join, and it's a fantastic project. You see all those dots there? They are people who are running veganic projects. It might be your windowsill, it might be your allotment, it might be your farm. So far, we've got 150 people on board, and that includes farmers, gardeners, and people growing even on their windowsills. And it's planet friendly gardening. Okay, it's planet friendly, and we can get into that with our panel, what that actually means. And now, if you're interested in hosting an event, because this is one of the things that I'm so excited about, and later on in May, you're going to see one in our veganic plot here in sunny Suffolk. At the end of May, we're going to put on an event. But if you'd like to host an event and really be able to talk to your neighbours and other people about the ideas behind veganic growing and agriculture, you can email events@veganorganic.net. Just keep an eye on the newsletter. You can subscribe to that through the website, veganorganic.net. Well, I tell you what, have you ever wanted to know how to grow organically using only plant-based fertilizers? Well, we are here to answer all of your questions for you. Now, we have had so many questions to come in today, and we have got a super expert panel, and let's hope that the gremlins in the old microphones have gone. So I'd like to introduce the first panelist, please. It's Graham Burnett, old friend of mine. He's been an activist for social and environmental justice since the 1970s. And Graham has taught amazing permaculture workshops and courses for over 20 years. Graham, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Giles. Good to see you again. Yeah. How's things?
It's great, thank you. Yeah, I love this time of year because we can start eating more food from the garden. And I bet you've been out and about on some of your projects, haven't you?
Yeah. I've been planting a community orchard the last few weeks. Completely the wrong time for planting fruit trees, but due to one reason or another, we actually only managed to get our apple trees put in a couple of weeks ago. We managed to get some funding from local housing, social housing project, and manage a lot of housing around here. They gave us a little bit of money to plant like a community orchard of traditional Essex apple trees. So we've been doing that just around the corner from where I live, and fingers crossed, even though they got planted a little bit late, fingers crossed they'll kind of survive and thrive, and in years to come we'll have like plenty of Essex variety apples growing just around the corner. So
well done
for anybody to pick. So
well done, mate. It's a beautiful
first of many, we hope.
Well, absolutely. And they say, don't you know, what's the best time to plant a fruit tree 20 years ago? What's the second best time today? So you've done it.
Absolutely,
Thank you, Graham. We'll get into your wisdom throughout the show. Now, we're going to introduce our next panelist. We were having a bit of technical problems out there, dear viewers. So we're going to introduce him and hope he'll be able to hear us. If not, he can introduce himself. So, Jonathan Barker, can you hear us, John?
Yeah, everything's good.
Oh, well done.
Live TV, eh?
Well, we are doing it, mate. We really are. Now, John's been a vegan for over 22 years, and he runs the incredible Maypole Forest Garden, which is an inspirational place near Malden in Essex, which he's done for over 11 years now. John, how are you doing?
Yeah, great. Yeah, loving. I love the spring. It's a bit cool, isn't it? It's a very cool spring this year so far. But yeah, I love this time of year. It's the best time of year. April, May, June. So much going on. Very busy time of year. All the trees and plants looking so lush because we've had so much rain this winter. I mean, a lot of plants and trees are really thriving with all that water. So yeah, it's all good.
Looking forward to getting into your wisdom today, John. So thank you very much, and wonderful that we got over those tech problems. And our final panelists, but what a woman! It's Jo Barker. We do like the Barkers on this show. Jo is a forest gardener and loves permaculture, and she's been designing, making, and eating edible gardens since the last century. We could even say since the last millennia, possibly. She's very passionate about plants and people. Jo, how are you doing?
Oh, great. Thanks for inviting me to be on the show tonight.
Well, it's wonderful to have you along, Jo. And tell us about some of the things you've been up to recently.
Okay. Well, perennial vegetables. I'm working on a few community projects. So really getting into a new perennial vegetable garden at Abbey Physic Community Garden in Faversham. We've been doing lots of community food projects. And yesterday I started a new exciting project with Miles Irving, the forager, working with schools, getting the kids out foraging, which is just such a brilliant thing. So lots of lovely things. Foraging, honestly, I think that's, for me, there's just so much food already, and then growing it's like the icing on the cake. So I've got lots of wild garlic where I live. I don't know if anyone else has that near them.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we've got some questions are going to be getting into some of that, and I am drinking. I'm drinking my garden tea. We've got so many perennial vegetables here, and I know John does, and Graham's been talking about planting his apple trees. But I tell you what, Jo, let's get into some of these questions, because I tell you what, I think we've had more than ever panel, and we had to get the best experts we could, and they couldn't make it today, so you've turned up instead. I think that was a bit of Bruce Forsyth there, wasn't it? A bit of Brucey. Do you like that? Okay, after a bit of Brucey, we're going to get into these questions. Maestro, please. Who have we got here? So, Dawn. Now, Dawn, I think, is a regular listener. So lovely to hear from you again. Okay, mycorrhizal fungi. What are they? And what do they do? And how can I add them to my garden? So what we're going to do, panel, is just whoever wants to go first, just hands up, and then we'll go through them if you want. So anyone want to go for Dawn's question here? Any hands up, panel? Oh, Jonathan Barker, over to you.
Okay, so without mycorrhizal fungi in general, ecosystems, woodland ecosystems wouldn't, you wouldn't have health, and they just wouldn't really survive. They're just so important to the well-being of the whole ecosystem. Just holds everything together, and the mycorrhizal fungi, I mean, it just has so many benefits. I mean, basically in an area where there's little fungi already, say in a more sterile, arable field like our forest garden used to be, with very little life and balance in it, we actually added mycorrhizal fungi. You can get products like root grow, which you just sprinkle into the hole when you're planting your fruit trees, nut trees, other ones, and it just helps with the root growth. Helps with the root growth. Helps with drought tolerance. Where we're based in Essex, one of the driest parts of the country. You wouldn't believe that this year, but it is one of the driest parts of the country. So it's very important to get the roots growing as strong as possible, especially in the first year or two of that plant's existence in that spot. And just gives things a lot better chance, improves the health of the ecosystem and the immediate environment. And it's just a sensible thing to use. And in the long term, you get natural fungi systems building up in the soil, and then the basically the health of the soil and the ecosystem is far stronger. But in the early days, I think adding mycorrhizal fungi is a really good idea.
Wonderful. Okay, John, thank you very much. Anything Joe or Graham would like to add into that? Joe?
I like to think of the mycorrhizae, I can't say it, this fungi to be an extension of the roots. And every plant, I believe every single plant has a relationship with mycorrhiza. And it's only when, I don't think the annuals have enough time to make that association, which is another reason why perennials are so amazing and they're meant to have more nutrition. The other thing is that we can increase wood by adding wood chip because they feed off woody material. And also I've heard, maybe one of the others know, we can make something from plantain, the plant that's very common in most gardens. It's got the ribs that go up and down. It's very mushroomy, and I think we can make our own root grow from that. But I've never done it. But there you go. That's what I wanted to add.
Lovely. Graham, anything from you for Dawn here?
I think getting into kind of what mycorrhizal, it's one of those words, like mycorrhizal fungi. What kind of is it? I guess it's kind of it's kind of an association. Myco meaning derived from the Latin for fungi, and rhiza, the Latin for roots. So it's kind of a combination. It's a combined organism in a way, fungi part root. So it's this actual kind of fungal association with the roots that actually, as Joe said, it kind of creates almost a secondary root system for the trees. And what's kind of going on there, the more we kind of find out, it's kind of relatively new science. It's been known, that there has been this association for a long time, but for a very long time, it was thought to be a parasitic relationship, parasitic in that the fungi is taking nutrients from the tree, but not actually giving anything in return, rather than a symbiotic relationship that actually it's mutually beneficial to both parties, if you like. So the fungi is kind of obtaining carbohydrates and sugars from the tree that it wouldn't be able to manufacture itself, And in return, it's kind of accessing all these kind of nutrients like phosphorus and potassium and nitrogen and all these other wonderful stuff and water, you know, that would otherwise be out of reach to the tree. And so it's actually this kind of very symbiotic, mutually beneficial relationship that's going on. And what's actually going on, you know, is kind of a bit mind blowing when you kind of actually start delving into it. That, you know, the mycorrhiza, you know, I think, excuse me, sometimes it's called like the wood wide web, this term, the wood wide web, or the mycorrhiza are actually kind of nature's internet that's actually creating all these connections between these subterranean world that's going on below the surface. And it's not just about sharing nutrients, it's actually about this whole communication network that's going on, that, you know, kind of plants will communicate with each other. They'll send signals around. So if a predatory, you know, the deer or something is coming through the woodland and it's kind of eating the foliage of the plants and it's getting a little bit kind of maybe a bit over enthusiastic, the tree will then send messages to other trees in the vicinity, and they'll start manufacturing these kind of chemical compounds that the deer doesn't like to eat, and that will kind of provide this kind of protection. So there's all this stuff that we barely kind of know about, and that sorry, I'm going to go off on one now.
No, it's brilliant, Graham. It's so true, mate.
Yeah.
It is so important, these connections that we do learn more about. Well, thanks for that. I think make compost. That's
so
just
much
what
we
I'd say.
can learn.
There is,
Yeah.
mate. There is, and I'd just say to Dawn, just just make compost. Just build it up, and you can get that natural balance. Let's go to the next question, panel, because we've had so many in today. But thank you for that, everyone's answers. James, I live in Hackney and have a very small, it's 20 by 15 meters, south-facing garden. Well, it seems quite reasonable, James, with the lawn and borders. How can I increase biodiversity in the garden, and should I build a pond? James in Hackney. Okay, panel. Well, let's just briefly bit of advice for him. How can he increase biodiversity? Should he build a pond? Okay, Joe, you go.
I'll go for it. Yeah, sounds great. What a lovely sized garden, south facing in the city. Build a pond. Bringing water in is one of the best things to do. And I was like thinking that biodiversity, when we want to increase it, it's about providing homes and food and water. By homes, I mean shelter. And it's a bit like us, and we need friends too. So meeting the needs of what those creatures need. By doing that and covering the soil, we can bring in plants. The biodiversity will come very quickly. I know people that have no birds in their garden at the moment. In fact, in our back garden, I've not seen birds apart from a seagull. But yeah, ponds, wood piles, diversity, lots of diversity of plants, of elements to bring them in. We need different sizes of plants and pollinating plants. There's big lists available, but basically I like to think of it simply as like, you know, what water, food and shelter, and then it will come.
Lovely. Okay, over to you, Jonathan. Just a few bits of advice here for James.
Yeah, also it's important for wildlife corridors. So if you've got some good neighbours and they don't mind you cutting holes in their fences, do that, and then you've got spaces for them to get in and out. Of course, hedgehogs and other creatures and so on. Obviously, leaf piles are ideal. Put your pond in the corner, ideally in the lowest part of the garden, in the section that's not exactly south-facing, so it doesn't dry out too quickly. Put up, make bird boxes if you can out of reclaimed wood, bug houses. All these things help enormously. Obviously, April, now it's the time to sow your wildflower areas. Wonderful thing to do. And obviously, south-facing garden, put in a fruit tree or two, or a grapevine, all those kind of things. Because fruit trees, as the fruit rots in late autumn, it's fantastic for so many insects. Butterflies feed on the nectar, And obviously the pollen is fantastic for pollinators in the spring. So yeah, all those kind of things help.
James, can you do us a favour? Send a picture in to veganorganic.net, and then we want to see it in a year after you followed the panel's advice. Brian, anything you'd just like to add there, just briefly for James?
Yeah, I think that covers it. Yeah. The question there, you know, should I build a pond? Well, yeah, why wouldn't you? I suppose my only caveat, my only concern would be if you've got small children, some kind of sort of safety measures. Maybe you put a little. We had a little pond in our garden years ago, and our children were very small, so we kind of like had a little fence around that area. We just kind of cobbled a little fence together with some spare bits of wood that were kicking around, or maybe put a kind of, you know, a metal grill over it. Just being a bit safety aware. That would be my only caveat about a pond. But yeah, and build it, make the pond, and they will come. You know, the wildlife, the birds, the frogs, the newts. We had newts in our pond. No idea where they came from. We lived very urban environment, but newts made their way there. So yeah,
beautiful.
Build it, and they will come.
Well, we look forward to seeing the transformation, James. Let's get into the next question, please, Maestro. Oh, Jasmine from Hastings. Where are your slugs hiding? This spring, my early tender seedlings, like lettuces, have been decimated by tiny slugs at night. I guess they hide in the soil during the day. How can I protect my crops from this carnage? Well, I sympathise with you, Jasmine. I do indeed. Okay, have we got any 24-carat advice for Jasmine here? What can we do? Anything?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do the hand up just so I know to go to. But Jonathan Barker first.
Okay. Yes, I mean, obviously, if you've got tender plants, covering them with clochers, that's one thing you can do. Some kind of protective barrier over them. The other thing is sometimes people put surrounding like charcoal or sharp grit or sharp shells. That helps a bit. The best thing I've found that's worked, if you're lucky enough to know a plumber who's getting rid of old copper piping, get the copper piping around your tender plants. That seems to really stop the slugs and snails getting onto them. They don't like the charge or the taste of it. So those are some of the best ways. And obviously, get anything really tender, either get it in a protected area or get it in a raised bed or in a hanging basket or wherever, because, you know, the harder it is for those slugs to get to, the better.
Wonderful. Thank you, John. Okay, Joe, I know you were eager to get involved in the slugs. We had a little chat earlier about slugs.
Oh, I know. It's like, I think we could do a whole program on this. So I think, the best, Jonathan's given my best thoughts on protecting now. And I would like to encourage you and everybody else that has, we all have issues with this, is thinking bigger picture and why we want to grow lettuces. And in the forest gardens that I make, we rarely grow lettuce, actually, yet we can have 300 things for a salad. So sometimes it's easier to grow other things that's a bit more robust, perennial plants that we can eat like salad. Like wild rocket is a perpetual annual, and that's really good in salad. There's lots of, so I know that doesn't answer the question directly, but it's thinking about why do we want to grow salad, lettuce, and that's often the reason why. So it's less work, and we want to be nice to nature. We don't want to use things that hurt the slugs, because we love all the creatures, right? And we need them. So it's about, we ultimately want balance, and things are always going to be out of balance to keep in balance. So we actually want the slugs, and there are helpful slugs too. And snails also can decimate young plants. So I think there's a whole load of interventions that we use in permaculture gardening maintenance, which I think is really useful to know. They started with the RHS, but simply, first of all, we need to observe, and biological interventions like having the frogs and the slow worms around, things like eating the slugs and snails. So we increase the food chain, and more birds and things, and hedgehogs, and then we can use mechanical interventions like picking them off and relocating them, which when we have a big load of slugs that appear after maybe a lot of rain. That's one of my favourite interventions if I have an issue. Oh yeah, one of the main problems I've actually found is that the slugs are actually physically somewhere, and I've actually, in a community garden, I was teaching about this. What do we do about slugs? And there was a raised bed with bit of wood, and there's all these little slugs. These lettuce seedlings next to it. And I lifted up this wood, and it was encrusted with over 100 slugs and snails. Yeah. So we can sometimes accidentally create habitat for the slugs and snails. We can, and that's one of the biggest issues. So just look out for that too. They like damp and darkness, basically.
Good advice there, Graham. Anything you'd just like to add there for Jasmine on the old slugs? I'm sure you've had a bit of experience, mate, over the years.
Yes, yeah, and I kind of echo what Joe and Jonathan have both said, but for me, you know, I get, you know, people go, oh, you know, or people will come on a permaculture course, you do a permaculture kind of workshop or something, and people say, well, what's the permaculture answer to slugs then? And I'll kind of respond by saying, well, what was the question the slugs were asking you? Which I think, you know, kind of like goes back to, you know, what's the bigger picture, you know, and understanding what are the needs of the slug, what are they telling you about your environment, what are they telling you that might be kind of out of balance, you know. So understanding, you know, think like a slug almost, how, you know, how does a slug see the world? And you know, kind of, as Joe said, you know, if you're growing things like lettuces and succulent things that we like to eat, you know, slugs like to eat that stuff as well. So for the same reasons, you know. So as Joe said, I think, you know, maybe going for things that are kind of like, you know, more robust perennial plants, kind of, you know, more of a kind of forest garden, kind of natural ecosystem where it's kind of, you know, the system will kind of balance and sort itself out. And I guess, you know, that's another argument for kind of more kind of perennials and those kind of, you know, those sort of things. But, you know, I would say you could write whole books on ways to deal with slugs. And people have, you know, there's all these little books, you know, 1,000 ways to deal with slugs. They'll always find a way around it, whatever, you know, that.
Well, I think we've given Jasmine some great advice there, and let us know, Jasmine, how you get on. Maestro, please. I'll tell you what, panel, you're all very wonderful, and this show that was the idea of the Maestro Dan Graham for Vegan Organic Network. The cumulative wisdom is incredible. If you go back and you watch these shows, there's experts from all around the world, and you don't always get the answer that you might think because of the incredible experience and knowledge you've all got. So thank you for that. Maestro, please. Next question. I think it's our Tracy. Well, it's our Tracy. I've been a bit behind on my gardening tasks. Me too, Tracy, here in the Midlands. But I still want to get some bulbs in the ground. Is it too late for planting them towards the end of April? And if not, which one should I go for? Keep up the great work, Vegan Organic Network. Thanks, Tracy. We appreciate your support. Panel, we probably won't get you all to answer this because it's but anyone want to give us some advice? Anyone? Hand up. It's not me. John Barker, you love a bulb.
Okay, I love a bulb. I love my spring bulbs. I love my summer bulbs. It's good to get colour out there as well as stuff to eat. And loads of plants and flowers are edible as well. Yeah, get that colour out there. So basically, at this time of year in April, you're talking about planting for the summer. So your summer bulbs, basically. Obviously, in the autumn, you plant your spring bulbs, like your daffodils and crocuses and tulips and everything else. So at this time of year, you're talking about some bulbs, and you can get in like bulbs like alliums that have those lovely big blue or purpley heads. Put in your dahlias at this time of year, crochismia, gladioli, give you loads of colour in the summer. Begonias, delphiniums. So there's lots of different bulbs you can put in at this time of year to give you lots of colour in the summer.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I tell you what, it's like having a young Alan Titchmarsh on the show with that knowledge. Let's go to the next question. I'll tell you why, because we've got so many amazing questions. So if you're massive bulb experts, guys, sorry about that. But this is from Sarah. Hey panel, here in my small urban plot in Bristol, I've been inspired by permaculture principles. Good for you, Sarah. We have too. What are some key permaculture techniques I can implement in my garden during April and May? Now, Graham, I'm just going to go to you first because we're age before beauty with Joe there. So over to you, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, for me, permaculture is not so much about the techniques. I mean, techniques that you can, kind of maybe employ, but it's more about the overall kind of systems thinking and, informing your kind of mindset, I think. And I think at the core there, it's like the earth care, people care, and the kind of the fair shares thing. Are they at the core of what you're kind of doing? And I think they'll be informing your kind of this intervention I'm making in my garden, in my landscape, whatever it is. Does it kind of, show care for the earth? Does it show care for people? And is it evidencing kind of fair shares? And I think those kind of principles as well around, observe and interact, long-term observation, kind of making sure you're obtaining a yield, encouraging diversity, multifunctional crops, all that kind of, all those different yields you might mean, and broadening our understanding of what we mean by yields. It's not just like, I planted £5 potatoes and a bit later I'll harvest £20 potatoes. It's what all those other yields, like kind of, health and well-being, like why the benefits to the environment, what am I learning from this? So I think, for me, permaculture design is more about thinking in terms of principles rather than kind of techniques. Because like different techniques will work in different situations. And one of the main questions, when as a permaculturist, you're asked, what if I do X, Y, Z, and the response is always, well, it depends, because every garden is different, every landscape is different, every woodland is different. And so I think, what works in one situation might not work in another. Have I managed to avoid the question there successfully?
You've done an absolutely brilliant answer. And I'd just say, buy Graham's books and go on his courses and Joe's courses and visit Maypole Forest Garden and watch a bit of Alan Titchmarsh. Now, I'm just going to go straight to the next question because I'm going first to Joe for this one.
Oh, okay.
Because here we go. This was made for you. It's Pete. It's our Pete in Kent. What are some of the most common wild edible plants and mushrooms that can be foraged in April and May? I think you do actually hold some sort of record, don't you, for a salad you made? So
it's true.
What can we do here, Joe, for what can we forage this sort of April, May?
Okay.
Go for it.
Well, you might be surprised by my answer because it still surprises me. We can eat almost everything. When the leaves are young on almost every plant, oak leaves, for example, we can eat them. Especially beech leaves are known for this, hawthorn leaves. There's lots of blossom on the trees, hawthorn blossom, apple blossom. That's all edible. But we don't want to eat it if we want the fruit. That's the thing, because the flowers turn into the fruits. Wild garlic carpets loads of areas in Kent. My favourite patch is Kersney Abbey. It's just like as far as the eye can see. The first time I saw it, I got down on my hands and knees and started eating it like a four-legged, because I was just like, it's just one of those moments, really, just overwhelming. We've got three-cornered leek, or it's also known as three-cornered garlic, growing. It's a bit of an invasive plant, only because I think people don't realise they can eat it. And it grows in a lot of gardens, and that's very common right now. It's got little white flowers. They look a bit like snowdrops. White bluebells, but they're not. They smell like onion. There's just so much fit. I think my record-breaking salad, which was over 300 things in a salad, was in mid-May, and that included a lot of these young leaves. Hop buds are common in Kent because this is a place where lots of hops grow. It's just an abundance. A lot of the spring vegetables, we've still got lots of nettles, cleavers, yarrow. I mean, just about almost everything that you can eat is available now. And again, in September, there's another abundant time. So there you go. Oh, I just wanted to, relating back to the last question too, something to observe at this time of year. We're moving season now. We're moving into the summer, early summer, where all the leaves are starting to turn into flowers. So there's this edge of different things going on. And then the flowers won't last. They last until the end of June. But it's a nice thing to know about when we're foraging and in our permaculture observation. There you go.
Beautiful. Some wonderful things. I made a soup for my dad. He'd had a stroke recently, bless him. And I thought I need to get some goodness into him. So we had nettles, and we had the pepper grass, and we had, I think we put some cleavers in it and some dandelions and some mint. And we made a video, and it was just wonderful. You know, that goodness in him. It was just like, like eating pond soup. Regarding the mushrooms there.
Oh, mushrooms, yeah.
St. George's mushroom.
Yeah, that's finished where I am.
Yeah, so here's to St. George.
So it's very good one to know about. Oh yeah. So it's one of the few white mushroom. It's one of the few mushrooms around. We've also got morels here and jelly ears. And we found an ink cap yesterday, which is edible but not meant to be nice. So there's not many at this time of year, but there are a few. And the St. George's mushroom is the classic white one, which you'd never eat. The most poisonous mushrooms look like innocent little white ones. And so we need to be 100% sure. We need to be 100% sure of everything that we forage. That's the number one rule, because you can't, it's very easy to pick the wrong things sometimes. So it's good to know the poisonous lookalikes. That's my number one tip. But yeah, I made a forage soup. I call it medicine soup. And it had piles of everything in. Sometimes it has over 30 things in. And it's very easy to make with some lentils. It's just so nourishing. I just feel so much better when I've got that on the go. Yeah, it still feels like winter, doesn't it? This long, cold spring we're having, and a nice warming soup full of all these greens is a great tonic. Yeah,
it really is beautiful. Okay, I'm going to move on now. I'm going to get you all to have a little go on this one, because it's a beautiful question. It is. If you could offer one piece of heartfelt advice to someone embarking on their own forest gardening journey, what would it be? Drawing from your own experiences and your lessons learned. So we're going to go around everyone. I'd like to start with Jonathan, please. What's the one bit of heartfelt advice for a forest garden? Are you there, Jonathan? Can you hear me?
Oh.
He looks happy, but he's frozen. We'll go to you, Graham.
No,
if you
the
don't mind.
sound's suddenly gone.
Oh, Jonathan, he's back. Are you there?
Now.
He's back. Here we go. Jonathan, pardon me.
Yeah, it's working again.
Yep. So, did you hear the question?
Right,
there?
can you repeat the question? Because
yeah, I certainly can. No, that's fine. It's basically saying, what's your one bit of heartfelt advice for someone embarking on a forest garden?
Well, my advice is to enjoy it. Just there's going to be challenges. There's going to be difficulties. There's going to be surprises. There's going to be excitement. There's going to be wonder. But just enjoy it. Enjoy the journey. You know, creating a forest garden is a wonderful thing to do, and you evolve with the forest garden as it evolves. And just, you know, accept that there's going to be some bumps in the road. It's like life. You know, It's not always easy. And you know, obviously in horticulture, gardening, we get challenges as well. But, you know, if you can overcome them, then you grow with them.
Lovely. Beautiful bit of advice. Graham, over to you, please, my friend. The one bit of heartfelt advice.
Yeah, I'd say take your time. Don't rush. Be aware that, you know, as Jonathan said, things change over time. Be patient. I think it's about patience. I think, you know, so much of our culture, including our kind of growing cultures, quite often is about instant results. But actually, with the forest garden, you're kind of, you're thinking is very long term, and you kind of might be. I would say the first thing that one would do will probably be to get some kind of, after getting kind of a shelter belt, some kind of protection in. You're putting in your kind of trees that are going to be your kind of like larger fruit trees in time. But obviously, when you put them in the ground, you get them from like the trees I was just talking about at the start. They're kind of like 2 foot tall maiden trees, and it's difficult to imagine what they're going to look like in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time. And so, so it's have that kind of bigger picture thinking, but don't be in a rush to get there. I think it's going to
Lovely.
come, but it's going to take a while.
Beautiful words. And over to you, Joe.
God,
What
so
was the
hard just to pick one.
If it
Yeah.
one piece.
No, it's like I think I'm going to suggest connecting to other people doing this, and I think there's so few people doing it that it's really important to. Most people want to connect with each other and share plants. It's a good way to get plants and ideas and hear what other people have, what's gone wrong and what's gone well, and to learn. There's so much to learn. It's like endless, and that's part of the joy. And very good luck with your journey. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do, which I think, it connects to an ancient way of us living on the land.
Beautiful.
Great
That's
question.
Wonderful. And I tell you what, guys, the Vegan Organic Network's map of these planet-friendly gardens and the events that are coming is a wonderful way to really connect with what Joe's doing. So I encourage all of the listeners to get on the map, even if you've just got a window box or a raised bed or something, be part of a community project. Get on the map and let's start putting events on and let's start sharing in real time. It's wonderful to have these things. Now, guys, I really want to go to this last question, but it's going to be like 30, 40 seconds each. But I think it's a brilliant question. Maestro, please. Question 8. Here we go. What are some of your favourite plants or elements in your permaculture garden? And what do they mean to you personally? I know it's a lot to answer in 30 seconds, but Jonathan Barker.
I love the willow plants. We planted a willow tunnel going diagonally through our land in the early years, just from cuttings, so it didn't cost anything. But it's lovely walking along it in the summer when it's really hot, because it gives you that kind of shade, coolness, and also in the spring you can hear the bees buzzing around it because you get early nectar off of it, and then and also in the spring you might get the birds nesting in it as it bushes up till we cut it every year.
Beautiful, John. Beautiful answer. Graham, over to you.
Off the top of my head, I think it's got to be the fruit trees, the apple trees. I'm looking out the window at the one in my back garden now, covered in blossom at the moment, and then it will start producing the apples. It'll be, even if I don't do anything, it's going to provide me with apples, and so the fruit trees it's got to be, I think.
Beautiful. And over to you, Joe.
Got to say, there's one plant that's just outstanding for me, and that's Lavatera. It's a type of mallow, and it's just awesome. It's beautiful. It's incredible medicine. It's anti-inflammatory. You can eat the leaves all through the winter. It flowers all summer long. The bees love it. It's just gorgeous. It's just amazing. Anyway, I'll stop there. Every forest garden should have one.
I tell you what, we could have got a bit more into. And apologies if you sent a question in, listeners and viewers. If you sent a question in, and we didn't get to answer it, but we will answer it in the next show. I'd just like to thank my wonderful panel of Joe, Jonathan, and Graham, incredible experts. We had a super-powered forest garden knowledge here today. I'd like to thank Dan Graham, Maestro, who is holding it all together in the background, not just for this show, but for the Vegan Organic Network. It's veganorganic.net is the website. Please do subscribe to the mailing list. Please do become a member of the Vegan Organic Network. It is my favorite charity in the world. It's solution-focused, and it makes a lot of sense what the Vegan Organic Network is talking about, and wonderful proponents of it, like Graham, like Joe, and like Jonathan. So do keep connected, everyone. Thank you so much, panelists. Been a wonderful to share the evening with you. I'm going to go back to my forage tea and have a lovely evening, everyone. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.